Hi, I'm Alister Chapman, and in this video I'm going to take a look at using the Atomos Ninja 5 and Ninja 5 Plus with the Sony FX3 and A7SIII. The Atomos Ninja 5 is a compact 5-inch HDR video monitor with built-in recording capabilities. It has an HDMI input and output, and it can record using several different codecs, including ProRes, Avid DNx HD, H.265, as well as ProRes RAW on affordable and readily available SSDs. With the FX3 and A7SIII, you'll be using the Ninja 5's HDMI input to record the camera's RAW output. The Ninja 5 can also be expanded using clip-on modules, such as the Atomos SDI module and the Atomos Sync module. Don't forget that in addition, you'll need to purchase some SSD drives to record on. A list of compatible SSDs can be found here. Before going any further, it's always a good idea to ensure that the firmware on your Ninja 5 is up to date. The latest firmware can be found on the product support page of the Atomos website. To update your Ninja 5, simply paste the firmware update file on the SSD drive, insert the drive into the Ninja 5 and follow the on-screen prompts. If it hasn't already been enabled, you'll also need to enable the RAW recording option on your Ninja 5. Touch the screen where the timecode is shown, drag the menu bar to the left until you get to activation and select it. You can then use the QR code, or you can go to the registration page of the Atomos website to create an account and register your Ninja 5. Once you have registered the Ninja 5, you can then select it from the registered devices in your account and activate ProRes recording, the ProRes RAW codec, and in addition purchase other recording options. In each case, you'll be provided with an activation token to download and place on an SSD drive, which is then inserted into your Ninja 5 to activate the option. When using the Ninja 5 with the FX3 or A7SIII, you can choose to record either ProRes or ProRes RAW. If you work with Avid editing systems, you can also use Avid DNx if that's preferred. It might not always be necessary to record ProRes RAW, even when you need a very high quality final output. For example, if you want to capture S-Cinetone footage at the highest possible quality, then recording ProRes HQ on the Ninja 5 would be a great choice. ProRes HQ can also be used when shooting with S-Log3 to record a very robust 10-bit 422 file that will hold up very well to extensive post-production grading. Because ProRes files are supported in all of the professional edit and grading applications that exist today, it's a very good codec choice if you're ever unsure of how your footage will be handled in post-production. For many types of production, you may not even need ProRes HQ. ProRes 422 offers slightly smaller files with only a very minimal and often typically unnoticeable loss of quality. For even more compact files, you could use ProRes LT. If you're using the ProRes codec, you can also take advantage of the Ninja 5's pre-roll and time-lapse functions. Pre-roll or cache record stores up to 6 seconds of video from before the moment you press the record button and seamlessly includes that in your recordings. It's great for capturing unpredictable events such as lightning in a thunderstorm. Wait for the lightning, then quickly press record, and you've captured the lightning strike without having to record for hours on end. You could also consider purchasing the H.265 codec license. H.265 is a state-of-the-art codec that allows you to record at high quality levels with compact file sizes. If you choose all I 10-bit 422 H.265, then you can have recordings that are still very high quality but take up less storage space. Or if you need compact proxy files to send to a client over the internet, one of the smaller H.265 options could be a good choice. The great thing about the Ninja 5 is that all these different options are available in one device. For those times where you want to squeeze every last drop of image quality out of the camera, you can record using ProRes RAW. The camera outputs the RAW as a 16-bit linear data, and then the Ninja 5 takes this 16-bit linear and using a sophisticated, visually lossless process, converts it to 12-bit log RAW. A 12-bit recording can contain up to 4 times more tonal values than a 10-bit recording. These finer levels help ensure that you're getting the very best from the camera. ProRes RAW is a great choice whenever you want to do any extensive grading and image manipulation. There are two versions of ProRes RAW and ProRes RAW HQ. For the best image quality, I recommend using ProRes RAW HQ. But should you find that you are low on storage space, then you have the option to use standard ProRes RAW, which is around the same size as normal ProRes HQ. Low quality HDMI cables are a common cause of problems, especially with RAW, so do ensure that you use a very high quality HDMI cable to connect the camera to the Ninja 5. The FX3 and A7SIII's RAW output is enabled via the Setup, External Output, HDMI Output settings. As well as turning on the RAW output, you should also set the RAW output frame rate. Then once the Ninja 5 is connected, it's this frame rate that will be used for any internal recordings on the FX3 and A7SIII, as well as the RAW. If you want 24, 30 or 60 frames per second, the camera needs to be in the NTSC area mode under the area date settings. And for 25 and 50 frames per second, you should select the PAL area. To allow the camera to put the Ninja 5 into record when you press the camera's record button, under the external output, HDMI output settings, you must also first turn on the timecode output, and then go down to the record control and turn this on. You can continue to record internally in the camera as you would do normally while outputting RAW to the Ninja 5. The Ninja 5's input source should be set to HDMI. If set correctly, it will detect the RAW input signal and offer to automatically switch to ProRes RAW. Under the record options, you can then choose between standard ProRes RAW or the higher quality option of ProRes RAW HQ. As the Ninja 5 switches to the correct recording mode, the camera's LCD screen may momentarily go blank. This is normal. There are several monitoring options that you can use when recording ProRes RAW. The monitoring option that you choose also changes what the Ninja 5's waveform display will be measuring. When the monitoring is set to native, you'll be monitoring the native S-Log3 images that will be low contrast and lack colour. The waveform will be measuring the S-Log3 levels, where the normal exposure for a white card would be 61% and skin tones will normally be around 50%. If you choose Rec. 709, the RAW is converted to Rec. 709, which has a very limited dynamic and viewing range. The wide dynamic range RAW recordings will normally exceed what can be displayed via Rec. 709, so I don't normally recommend the use of this display mode, as sometimes highlights will appear clipped on the screen when in fact the recordings are fine. In this mode, the waveform measures the Rec. 709 levels. The waveform scale is in nits or brightness, where 100 nits would be the normal exposure for a white card. Skin tones would be around 60 to 70 nits. If you choose HLG, that's hybrid log gamma, and this is a type of high dynamic range gamma, so now you're much better able to see the full range of the images that you're capturing. Highlights will only be clipped if the RAW itself is clipping. However, HLG has a highlight roll-off, so the very brightest highlights will have very little contrast. When using HLG, the waveform display scale is 0 to 100%, and a white card would normally be exposed at approximately 50%. Skin tones are going to be around 35 to 40%. My preferred option is PQ. Like HLG, this is a high dynamic range gamma, so once again you'll be able to see the full range of the RAW capture. PQ is the HDR standard used for the majority of HDR productions. There'll be more contrast in the highlights with PQ, so it's easier to judge how your highlights may look after grading. The waveform display scale is in nits. When using PQ, a white card would be exposed so it's at 100 nits, and skin tones will be around 45 nits. The final option is LUT. You can load up to 8 of your own 3D cube LUTs onto the Ninja 5, and then these LUTs can be added to the S-Log3 or RAW. To add LUTs to the Ninja 5, you should place them on an SSD drive. Then attach the drive to the Ninja and go to the Monitor options and select the LUTs tab. Then choose one of the 8 LUT memories to load your LUT into. Next, select the folder symbol to view the LUT files on the SSD and choose the LUT you wish to load into that memory. Now you've loaded a LUT, you can use it to monitor the RAW. The waveform display will show the LUT brightness levels. The exact correct exposure level will vary greatly depending on the LUT that you're using. The waveform scale is a 0 to 100% exposure scale. With most conventional LUTs, a white card will tend to be somewhere in the region of 75 to 80%, and skin tones somewhere between 60 and 70%. As an alternative to using the waveform to measure the exposure, you can also use the Ninja 5 zebras. Like the waveform display, the zebras reflect the selected monitoring mode, so you'll need to adjust your zebra levels to suit your chosen monitoring mode. When shooting using log or RAW, if you're unsure about your exposure, it's generally preferable to shoot a little brighter rather than darker. In post-production, you'll be able to adjust the brightness of your footage. If your exposure is too dark and you try to make it brighter, it can become noisy and may be difficult to grade. But if it's a little bit too bright, this rarely causes a problem. Once you've shot your raw material, you'll need to take it into post-production for grading. ProRes RAW is currently directly supported in Apple's FCPX, as well as Adobe Premiere, Edius, Assimilate Scratch, and Avid Media Composer. If you wish to grade or edit your ProRes RAW footage in a different application, then you'll need to transcode the ProRes RAW to another codec. One way to do this is within FCPX using the File Share option. Simply select all of the files you wish to transcode, then via the Settings view of the inspector, set the camera LUT to off, set the color space to Rec. 709, and then select File, Share, and choose the codec you want and where the files should be saved. When transcoding the ProRes RAW, I recommend the use of the ProRes 4444 or ProRes 4444XQ codecs, as these are both 12-bit codecs and will retain virtually all of the RAW's original picture information. When working with ProRes RAW material in FCPX, you should set your library to Wide Gamut HDR. Once you've imported your ProRes files into the library, you can change the look of your footage by changing the LUT that's applied to the clips via the Clip Inspector. In addition, you can also adjust the post-production exposure level by selecting a different ISO value. In Adobe Premiere, once you've imported your ProRes RAW clips, you can change whether the clips are converted to Rec. 709 or to one of several alternative gammas and color spaces using the Clip Effects control panel. In addition, you can also apply an exposure offset by changing the exposure value. Editing ProRes RAW material is then no different to any other type of video file. You can grade it and adjust it using your chosen software's color tools, knowing that you've captured the camera's output at its highest possible quality level. I hope you found this video helpful. ProRes RAW is a great way to record your camera's output, but don't forget that the Ninja 5 can also record using other codecs, including normal ProRes HQ, and for some applications this may be a better choice as it offers a very high quality recording in a universally supported file.